Now, your forecast first from KARK4, your weather authority.
Snow is already falling in places of northern Arkansas like Mountain Home, back to around Fayetteville and Harrison too. But an area of sleet and rain making its way from the southwestern and western part of the state, moving right toward Little Rock. Are reports of some sleet in places like Arkadelphia this afternoon into the Hot Springs. That is moving, of course, this way. So as the evening goes on, we'll see that moving on in. Temperatures, though, quite warm right now, but as that rain moves in, we'll drop 5 to 7 degrees in Little Rock as it moves in. In fact, here's your forecast first for this evening in Little Rock. A 30% chance of rain, maybe with some sleet at 7 o'clock, 43 then. 39 by midnight with the rain chances picking up overnight, and we'll be in the upper 30s to start off your Friday. Your KARK4 News at 5 starts right now.
Now, from the station you count on for local news that matters. This is KARK4 News at 5.
We begin with breaking news. Shots fired between officers and a man in West Little Rock this afternoon, and now police searching for a wanted person in the area. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mallory Brooks. Bob and Jessica have the evening off. It happened in the Brody Creek Trail area near Bowman Road. Police say the person is wanted on a felony warrant. KARK4's Hubert Tate live in West Little Rock tonight with the latest. Hubert.
Well, right now, Mallory, Little Rock police are still on the scene here. As you can see behind me, they're conducting interviews. But they tell me around 2 o'clock this afternoon, they got a call about a burglary in the area. When they arrived, they said the suspect fired at them, and they in turn fired at that suspect. They do not believe that they hit the suspect, but of course they're still trying to find him, so there's no telling what they will find once they do catch up with them. They do tell us that the officer was not hit during all of this, and they are trying to find that suspect at this hour. We do not have a suspect description. Little Rock police are still trying to get that information for us, and also they are trying to piece together whatever information they can get at this time. But again, Little Rock police are trying to find the person who fired at them this afternoon, and once we have a suspect description, we'll pass it along to you. Reporting live here in Little Rock, Hubert Tate, KARK4 News.
Hubert, thank you. Little Rock police investigating another shooting at a park. This one happened at Weston Park on West 36th Street around 3 o'clock. Police say a group of people were arguing when someone started shooting. One woman was hit. She has been hospitalized in critical condition. No word on any suspects at this time. And a third shooting in Little Rock to report, this one at 28th and Van Buren. Our crews were on the scene this afternoon where there were reports of shots fired. We are working to get more information on this shooting, and we will keep you updated on all of these incidents on our website, arkansasmatters.com. Developing news tonight in Prairie County, where a multi-car crash killed one person and injured a dozen others this morning. Within the last few minutes, lanes in both directions were reopened on I-40 near the 200-mile marker at the White River Bridge. Traffic had been at a standstill for hours as crews worked to clean up debris left behind from the accident. As you can see from this Google Live View traffic map, traffic is still an issue at this time. I-40 is impacted essentially from Lone Oak to Brinkley. Lawmakers and the body art professionals come together to set standards for what experts say is a growing industry. But coming into today, any sign of working together seemed unlikely. KARK4's David Goins joins us live at the state capitol with more on two pieces of legislation advancing to the full House. David.
Mallory, one of these bills actually dealt with what is age appropriate to receive body art. That's one thing everyone was in agreement on. But however, another bill was a bit more complicated into an agreement here at the Capitol.
Members of our industry asking you to help us.
Misty Forberg says body art is more than just tattoos.
We're an evolving industry. You know, as things change and time changes, we have to with them.
Body art advocates at the Capitol today supporting legislation that would outlaw body art for anyone under the age of 16. But until last night, the same group was against another bill banning scarification. That's a form of branding on the skin.
They made the changes that were necessary. They listened to what we had to say, and they fixed everything that was a problem with it. It really, really was amazing that they took us so seriously.
Senator Missy Irvin added an amendment keeping scarification legal, but banning subdermal implants except by plastic surgeons.
Folks can still go and have that done. We just want to make sure it's done in a safe environment.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, you passed your bill.
Both bills advanced. Forberg says that's good progress.
It's really hard in this industry to come into a meeting like this and then see how we look and who we are and what we do for a living and to be taken seriously as professionals. So I really appreciate the state doing that.
And with the agreement ironed out today, it is anticipated that both these bills will have a good chance of advancing in the House when a vote comes up early next week. Now, coming up at 6, we're talking about an alcohol issue here at the state capitol that has affected pockets of Pulaski County for several decades. For now, we're live at the state capitol. David Goins, KARK 4 News.
David, thank you. Also at the Capitol, state legislators discuss a bill that would force mortgage companies to face clients in court to foreclose on them. Arkansas has been a non-judicial state since 1987, meaning mortgage companies can foreclose on a homeowner without a judge ever hearing the case. State Representative Jim Nichols pulled his bill from committee and is considering amending it. New information tonight in the search for a missing teen in Walnut Ridge. A few clues have surfaced in the search for 14-year-old Sydney Randall, but still nothing definite. Searchers did find some clothing along the riverbanks of the Black River, but the Lawrence County Sheriff says nothing has been positively identified as belonging to Sydney. Crews searched the river by sonar, but never found anything. They were back in that area today. A sentence handed down today for a man in Faulkner County charged with a hit-and-run death of a 12-year-old boy. Michael Fowler will serve 55 years in prison for the death of Garrett Martin. It happened back in August. Martin was on his four-wheeler when he was struck. The jury found Fowler guilty of negligent homicide, fleeing, and driving while intoxicated. The family says they are pleased with the verdict, but it doesn't bring Garrett back.
We're just going to take it one step at a time and pray that God gives us grace and strength to keep going, because if he doesn't, we won't make it.
Fowler is eligible for parole and 9 years for good behavior. A KARK 4 News update. Hot Springs police investigating the death of a woman as a homicide. Police found 22-year-old Katie Lavender dead in her apartment Tuesday night. Her body has been sent to the state crime lab for an autopsy. Saline County deputies arrest a woman involved in several property crimes, and they're now searching for 2 more suspects. Police charged 37-year-old Lisa Wright with several drug and theft charges after officers found stolen items in her car. These 2 men, 42-year-old Kenneth Hawkins and 33-year-old Jason Tanner, are now wanted in connection to the case. Both face several counts of theft and are currently on parole out of the Arkansas Department of Community Corrections. You're asked to contact police if you know where they might be. Arkansans alarmed after hearing reports that a local activist for the homeless arrested. But here's the catch. It was all a joke. As KARK4's Jocelyn Tovar explains, a satirical article in a magazine fooled a lot of people and at the same time highlighted a major issue facing the community. Good evening, Jocelyn.
Hey, Mallory. Well, it was sort of an early April Fool's joke. We got a tip about the article from a viewer who, like many others, thought it was all real. Greg Henderson, who wrote the article, says it has tricked quite a few who have read it. The article is in the Rock City Times website, an online magazine that calls itself Arkansas's second most unreliable news source. So a little hint right there. It explains that local homeless advocate Aaron Redden, who started the nonprofit volunteer organization called The One, was arrested for failing to mistreat the homeless population. 232 counts of that made-up charge. Now Henderson is friends with Redden, and he says he hoped the satire would wake people up a little bit to the problem of homelessness.
Sometimes the best way to highlight an important issue is just to see how extreme you can really take it. And sometimes by taking it to the extreme, you expose an underlying problem. And that was what a lot of this was.
Now, Henderson didn't let Redden know that he was writing the article, but the advocate says he did find it pretty funny. And to everyone who believed the story, he says he's sorry, but he did have a link on that article to Redden's charities, so in the end, he considers it largely for a good cause. Back to you, Mallory.
Jocelyn Tovar. Jocelyn, thank you. Funeral services have been set for a Little Rock elementary teacher who died in a car accident. Candy Van Patter was a teacher at Martin Luther King Elementary School. She died Tuesday after a car accident over the weekend. The visitation will be held at Roller Chenal Funeral Home in Little Rock Friday night from 6 until 8. The funeral scheduled for Saturday at 1 o'clock at Pleasant Valley Church of Christ. And an update now. Investigators have ruled out foul play in the death of a man whose body was discovered in a ground well. The Grant County Sheriff's Office ruled Daniel Johnson's death as an accidental drowning. According to the medical examiner, Johnson had methamphetamine in his system. Law enforcement spent several days in November searching for Johnson before his body was found. Well, also making news, a Springdale man faces charges after admitting to police he fathered an underage girl's child. Police were called to a hospital in Johnson Friday where a 14-year-old girl gave birth. The suspected father, 19-year-old Jack Kelwan, was also at the hospital. Investigators spoke to the girl who said the sex was consensual. Kelwan charged with 1 count of sexual indecency with a child and will face a judge tomorrow morning. Dozens arrested today in connection to a drug trafficking scheme. We'll tell you just how many are behind bars tonight.
And while sleet may be heading into Little Rock pretty soon with light rain right now, northern Arkansas will be seeing some snow as well. Winter weather advisory all the way across the northern part of the state. Extreme northeastern Arkansas under the winter storm warning for over 3 inches of snowfall. We'll break down the springtime winter storm coming up next.